Good afternoon. Today is Monday, July 6th, 2026. You're listening to Cyber FM. I'm your host, Arias Thomas, and this is today's Cybersecurity Report, being brought to you by the R.S.S.H delivery company, New York's exclusive delivery option.
Listening to Cyber FM, hosted by Arias Thomas.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Cyber FM. I'm your host, Arias Thomas, and I'm glad that you're here. Today is Monday, July 6th, 2026. And while the rest of the country is easing back into the work week, the machines and the people behind them never stopped working. This is the show dedicated to reporting on cyber warfare. And today we've got 4 fresh stories straight off the wire from this past week. And here's what they are. A Citrix NetScaler flaw with an ugly family resemblance to the CitrixBleed disaster of 2023, weaponized by attackers in under 24 hours flat. A clever new attack that turns an AI coding assistant against the very developer using it. No malicious code in the repository at all. Just a trap sprung by the AI's own helpfulness. A North Korean hacking operation that has quietly planted booby traps in over 100 pieces of code that developers download every day on some of the biggest software marketplaces in the world. And a brand new all-in-one malware framework that steals your passwords, wipes your backup so you can't recover, and then locks up your files. All from a single fake legal document in your inbox. A leaking gateway, a weaponized AI assistant, a poison supply chain, and a Swiss Army knife ransomware kit. 4 battles, 1 front. Let's begin.
Story number 1. The bleed returns. A new Citrix flaw on a one-day race to exploit it.
Our first story takes us back to a name a lot of IT security teams hoped they'd say goodbye to for good. CitrixBleed. Back in 2023, that flaw let attackers siphon session tokens straight out of the Citrix NetScaler appliances, and ransomware crews wrote it straight into companies like Boeing. This week, Citrix patched a brand new flaw that researchers are calling CitrixBleed's newest relative. And this time, attackers didn't wait around. Here's the mechanics. NetScaler, ADC, and NetScaler Gateway devices sit at the front door of countless corporate networks, handling remote access and single sign-on. The new flaw lives in how NetScaler's XML parser reads incoming login requests when a device is set up as a SAML identity provider, which is a common setup for single sign-on. Send it a specially deformed request and the parser keeps reading past where it's supposed to stop, spilling out fragments of the device's private memory in its response. That memory could hold session tokens, credentials, or other sensitive material, and no attacker needs a password to trigger it, just a network connection and a malformed request. Citrix issued the fix alongside 5 other Netscape bugs on June 13th. Researchers at the security firm Watchtower published a detailed technical write-up the same day, and within 24 hours, the security firm Lopovis was watching real attackers scan the open internet for vulnerable boxes. One operator working out of Frankfurt and a second one out of Hong Kong days later. Each one carefully checking whether a target was even vulnerable before firing off the exploit. That's not spray and pray. That's an attacker who read the disclosure, understood it immediately, and moved faster than most companies could finish their change control paperwork. So here's the takeaway. If your organization runs NetScaler ADC or NetScaler Gateway as a self-managed appliance, patch to the fixed versions immediately. And if you can't patch right away, disable SAML identity provider mode until you can. Force reauthentication on active sessions and rotate your SAML signing certificates since memory exposed before the patch may already be in someone else's hands. And the broader lesson here, a security research write-up isn't just information for defenders anymore. For a certain kind of attacker, it's a working exploit kit delivered on a schedule. And a gap between disclosure and abuse is now measured in hours, not weeks.
Story number 2. Helpful to a fault. The clean-looking repo that turns your AI assistant against you.
Story number 2 is one of the more unsettling ones we've covered, because there's no malware in the repository, nothing a scanner would flag, and no suspicious command the developer knowingly runs. Instead, security researchers found a way to turn an AI coding assistant against the very person using it by weaponizing nothing more than the AI's eagerness to be helpful. The research comes from Mozilla's Odin security team, and that's Odin spelled with a 0, capital D, capital I, capital N. and they demonstrated it using Claude Code, Anthropic's command line AI coding assistant, though the researchers stressed the same trick works against other agentic coding tools like Cursor and Google's Gemini command line too. Here's how it works. An attacker builds an ordinary-looking project repository. Clean, readme, normal-looking setup instructions, nothing malicious anywhere in the files. A developer clones it and asks for the AI assistant to get the project running. The AI follows the setup steps, and during installation, it hits a completely normal-looking error message that tells it to run one recovery command. The AI reads the error, trusts it, and runs the command to fix the problem, exactly as a helpful assistant would. And that's the trap. That recovery command quietly reaches out for a DNS record, the internet's phone book, controlled by the attacker, pulls down a scrambled, encoded string hidden there, and runs it. The result is a reverse shell, a live connection handing the attacker control of the developer's machine, along with any API keys, tokens, passwords, and source code on it. The genius and the danger is that the attack splits itself across 3 places nobody examines together. The repository looks clean, the network just sees a routine name lookup, and the AI agent believes it's running a pre-approved setup step. The actual malicious payload never lives in the repository at all. It sits in that DNS record, where the attacker can swap it out anytime for anyone who clones the repo next. All it takes is one repository link shared in a job posting, a tutorial, or a chat message. So here's the takeaway. If you or your team use an AI coding assistant, treat any unfamiliar repository as untrusted code. Don't let an AI agent run its setup steps on a machine that hosts live credentials. Use a disposable container or virtual machine instead. Configure your agent to require your explicit approval before it runs shell commands or reaches out to the network. And don't rely on the AI itself to judge whether a step process is safe. And the broader lesson here, an AI assistant's greatest strength, that it reads a problem and just fixes it for you, is exactly the thing an attacker can now aim back at you. And it looked clean is no longer the same thing as it was safe.
Story number 3, the poison toolbox. North Korea's 100-package play against developers.
Story number 3 is about a threat that doesn't knock on your front door at all. It waits for you to invite it in yourself, one software download at a time. Security researchers at Socket say a North Korean hacking operation has now planted malicious code across more than 100 packages and browser extensions on some of the software's biggest marketplaces. The campaign is called Poland Rider, and researchers tie it to the broader North Korean group behind the long-running contagious interview operation, the one known for posing as recruiters and sending fake coding tests to software engineers. This latest wave doesn't rely on tricking one developer at a time. Instead, the attackers are compromising the accounts of legitimate software maintainers, then quietly slipping hidden, obfuscated code into their real trusted projects. So far, researchers count 162 malicious releases spread across 108 unique packages and extensions, 19 on the JavaScript marketplace NPM, 10 on the PHP marketplace packages, 61 Go modules, and at least 1 Google Chrome extension. The hidden code is disguised cleverly, sometimes buried in ordinary-looking configuration files, sometimes hidden inside what looks like a font file. Once it runs, often triggered the moment a developer simply opens a project folder in any editor like VS Code, it quietly reaches out to the public blockchain networks to fetch its real payload, malware built to steal source code, cloud credentials, and cryptocurrency wallets. And the attackers have covered their tracks by rewriting the history of these code repositories, making recently planted malicious changes look like old, routine commits that nobody would think to double check. So here's the takeaway. If you or your team write software for a living, treat any recent, unexplained change to a project's configuration files as suspicious until proven otherwise. And don't trust the repository's visible comment history as proof that nothing's wrong. If you or your organization installed any affected package, assume the machine that installed it is compromised. Rebuild from a known good version and rotate your credentials from a separate, clean device. And the deeper lesson for anyone writing code today: being hosted on a big trusted marketplace like NPM or GitHub was never actually a guarantee of safety. And this campaign is a reminder that a state-backed attacker with patience can turn that trust directly against the people who rely on it the most.
Story number 4, the Swiss Army knife of ransomware, Avalon, CrownX, and the attack that wipes your safety net first.
Our fourth and final story today is about a nasty new piece of work that bundles nearly everything an attacker could want into a single package. And it starts, as so many of these do, with one convincing email in your inbox. Researchers at Blackpoint Cyber have uncovered a previously undocumented malware framework they're calling Avalon, carrying a ransomware component the attackers themselves named CrownX. Here's the chain. It begins with the spoofed email dressed up as a legal document, pointing the victim to a password-protected archive on a legitimate cloud storage service. A clever way to slip past email security because there's no malicious attachment for the scanner to catch. Instead, inside that archive is a disk image file, which when opened shows what looks like a secure document shortcut. Click it, and a multi-stage infection kicks off that runs almost entirely in the computer's memory, leaving a little on the hard drive for security tools to find, and quietly switching off the system's own logging so defenders are working blind. And then Avalon gets to work. And this is the part that makes it dangerous. It's an all-in-one toolkit. It harvests credentials from browsers, VPNs, SSH and remote desktop connections, and cryptocurrency wallets. It spreads sideways across the network using trusted built-in Windows tools so it blends in. But here's the cruelest piece. Before it encrypts anything, Avalon deliberately goes after your ability to recover. It specifically hunts down and disrupts backup systems, naming enterprise backup products directly, deletes the system's shadow copies and restore points, and even corrupts the Windows recovery environment. Some versions can overwrite the physical drive directly, turning what might have been recoverable encryption into permanent destruction. Only after your safety net is gone does CrownX lock your files and pop up its ransom note. Researchers note the whole framework shows signs of rapid assembly, likely with AI assistance, a reminder of how quickly attackers can now build sophisticated AI tools. So the takeaway, and it applies to organizations and individuals alike, be deeply skeptical of unexpected legal document or secure document emails, especially ones that route you to an outside cloud link and ask you to open a disk image or a shortcut file. That packaging is a red flag, not a convenience. And because this malware specifically targets your ability to recover, the single most important defense is backups that are offline, or other words, out of the malware's reach, and that you've actually tested restoring from. The broader lesson to close today's show: modern ransomware just doesn't lock your front door and demand a key anymore. It burns down the fire escape first. The attackers know your backups are your last line of defense, which is exactly why they're coming for those before anything else. Today's episode is brought to you by the R.S.S.H delivery company, New York's exclusive delivery option. When your package has to get across the city quickly, safely, and in good hands, the R.S.S.H is the name to know. They are New York's exclusive choice and the gold standard in delivery. Rain or shine, Monday or holiday, it doesn't matter. The R.S.S.H delivery company, New York's exclusive delivery option. And that's our show for this Monday, July 6th. Let's bring the front lines together because today's 4 stories all circle the same hard truth. The things we lean on for safety are exactly what attackers are leaning on to turn against us. A Citrix NetScaler flaw with CitrixBleed's fingerprints all over it, weaponized in under a day by attackers who trusted a patch cycle to be slower than they were. An AI coding assistant turned against its own user by nothing more than a clean-looking repository and a helpful instinct. A North Korean supply chain operation quietly living inside 100 pieces of code developers download without a second thought. And a new all-in-one ransomware kit that hunts down and destroys your backups before it even locks a single file, because it knows your recovery plan is the only thing standing between you and paying up. The thread running through all of it: trust is now the target, wherever it lives. In a patch cycle, in a code repository, in the AI agent's helpfulness, in the backups you assumed would save you. Yeah, attackers keep finding the thing we stopped watching because we assumed it was safe. So this week, patch what you can. Don't let a helpful tool run untrusted code. Keep a backup somewhere the malware can't reach, and don't assume that trusted means safe. This has been Cyber FM. I'm your host, Arias Thomas, and this show was brought to you by the R.S.S.H delivery company, New York's exclusive delivery option. Stay sharp, stay patched, stay secure. We'll catch you next time.
You are listening to Cyber FM, hosted by Arias Thomas.